you want to find what is your Kamiwaza. And what exactly is Kamiwaza? Well, the literal translation is divine work. But if you interpret it a bit more loosely, that becomes a technique that only God can do. And I want to thank, first of all, my friend James, because he's the one who taught me this idea of what is Kamiwaza. If you think about it, this is like LeBron James playing basketball. That is Kamiwaza. If you've ever seen Taylor Swift performing, that is also Kamiwaza. Yesterday, I went to a flamenco show when I was in Sevilla, and that to me, when they were at peak performance, like basically it felt that the audience didn't even really matter, and they were just dancing. They were like in the zone, really performing at the peak level. And what I was seeing to me was Kamiwaza as well. And I think that's what you really want to do. Like that should be almost your goal in life, is to find something that you're so passionate about that you can lose yourself and just like be in the moment and be at your peak while performing, and that will be your Kamiwaza. I don't know what that could be, and I'm still trying to find mine. Like I don't know what my Kamiwaza is going to be. But I'm sure that you've already had like moments of Kamiwaza. Usually, it's what I interpret as like flow. Like when you're in a flow state doing something, it happens to me a lot when I'm playing hockey, or especially sports like volleyball or hockey. It happens a lot where I'm not really thinking or overthinking about like what should be my next play, what I should be doing here. It's more of like I just know that my body is reacting to what's happening in the game right now. So either when I'm playing hockey, it's just like, okay, I know where exactly I need to go and shoot to score in this position. If it's volleyball and I'm going to hit, I know exactly where to hit because I see all the middles go. It's almost like everything happens in slow motion and you have time to react to everything. Like that to me is like Kamiwaza. It's like that moment where like you see everything happening. But I think that your goal is to get that as much as possible and find the thing that you can be in Kamiwaza almost like all the time, right? Where you can excel at whatever you're doing over and over and over and over. And I think that is what your Kamiwaza is. I don't know what it's going to be for you. It's going to be different for everyone because I feel that everyone has a potential of finding their Kamiwaza. It just takes a lot of time to get to that point. Other examples that I could think of is like Tim Ferriss doing his podcast is Kamiwaza. Like Steve Jobs being at the head of Apple, like that is also Kamiwaza. It doesn't necessarily need to be a performance or an art or something like that. Like you could be really good at something and nobody else can really be close to your peak. Like I feel that is what you're aiming for. And I feel that everyone has that in them. It just takes a lot of time and effort and practice and failure and all that to get to a point where you're like, oh, like I think this is my Kamiwaza. And then not only finding it, but then, being being the very best at what you're doing. Like that takes, tens, 20s of years. And I think that's why like you see it a lot more in performances and sports and stuff like that, because usually you start super early. Whereas like entrepreneurship, like usually you start maybe like after school in your 30s, in your 40s, and maybe you get to your peak even at like 60 or 70. Like Warren Buffett, his Kamiwaza is like investing, and he probably achieved it only at like 70 or 80 when he was really, really older in life, right? So yeah, I think if you can find your Kamiwaza and you know that you can get into this sort of state flow over and over, then you should really go for that. But the hard part is trying to find it. And I'm still at that point where I'm trying to find what is my Kamiwaza. So that's it for today. Peace.